A very good evening and warm welcome to all the participants. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the 106th Leadership Conversation, and we are extremely delighted to have Mrs. Madhavi Latha, who has already joined us. Please join me in welcoming the leader for this week. Welcome, ma'am, and good evening.
Good evening.
I will make a brief introduction and hand it over to you, the audience. The introduction is basically on a couple of slides, so allow me to share my screen. So these are leadership conversations which we are hosting every Friday, and so far we have completed 105, and this session is going to be the 106th leadership conversation, which is hosted by ICFAI online week after week every Friday. And the brand name for this is WiseViews. We are attempting to bring leaders with exposure and experience from various walks of life, and how we can distill that wisdom and use it in our own respective domains. And today we have, as I mentioned, Mrs. Madhavi Latha. She's going to talk about the primary job of leadership. This introduction and then opening talk by the leader for 20 minutes or so, then 40 minutes of Q&A, and then we'll sum it up roughly about an hour. It might spill over for an additional 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on the pace of response that we make to the questions. Madam is here. She is the CEO of Virinchi Hospitals, and it's my privilege to introduce her. She's an accomplished leader, orator, artist, philanthropist, social changer, entrepreneur, mother, and wife. She's a woman driven by a profound mission to revolutionize our way of life. With a diverse range of skills and a relentless passion for making a difference, she has left an indelible mark on various spheres of society. Mrs. Madhavi Latha is a trained classical Bharatanatyam dancer, having performed in numerous solo acts and ballet productions, captivating audiences with her skill and grace. She has been invited to speak at prestigious social, educational, corporate, and religious organizations across the country, inspiring and motivating audiences from diverse backgrounds. Mrs. Madhavi's entrepreneurial acumen is evident in her role as CEO of Virinchi Hospitals, which is a renowned healthcare institution based out of Hyderabad. Under her leadership, Virinchi Hospitals has achieved significant growth and earned a reputation for excellence in patient care and medical services. She has played a pivotal role in her husband's entrepreneurial journey as well. She assisted Mr. Vishwanath, her husband, who is an alumnus of IIT Madras, where she has been instrumental in the growth and success of their business, which operates globally in the domains of IT, biotech, healthcare, and infrastructure. Driven by a deep conviction that government-led policy changes can bring about meaningful societal transformation, she actively advocates for macroeconomic restructuring. Her vision encompasses poverty eradication, promoting respect for human life, and ensuring universal access to healthcare, sanitation, education, and shelter. Mrs. Madhavi Latha actively serves as a trustee of Vishwanatha Foundation and also of Lopamudra Charitable Trust, where she has spearheaded various initiatives. Her endeavors include providing free medicine kits to destitute pregnant women, organizing medical camps, constructing toilets for impoverished families, implementing road safety measures, so on and so forth. Mrs. Madhavi Latha was born and raised in Hyderabad. She completed her education in the prestigious Nizam College, where she distinguished herself as a student leader. She later pursued a postgraduate degree in political science from yet another distinguished university, namely Usmania University. She showcased her dedication to academic excellence by pursuing all these programs. Once again, welcome to you, ma'am. Thank you very much for joining us. I will also take one moment to introduce my colleague, my esteemed colleague, Professor Prasad. Is the Director of Academic Wing, and he brings with himself 3 decades of rich experience. He was an entrepreneur himself, and he was a corporate leader as well, and now he is a renowned academic at ICFAI. He has done his BTech from IIT Bombay and PGDM from the prestigious IIM Kolkata. He published several papers, books, and presented papers in India and abroad. And this is myself, and all of us will be discussing together. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we present to you Mrs. Madhavi Latha. Over to you, ma'am. And we are all eager to listen to you, understand you. What is the primary job of leadership? And after that, we will have the Q&A. Thank you and welcome.
Hello, everybody. I was actually asked to speak about, the primary job of leadership. Why talks, big terms, big jargons, because I'm not really good at them. So I just thought, before really getting into this topic, I would want to first introduce saying that why do we have pinch and pain towards patriarchal families? In a patriarchal family, we say that the father is head of the family. And what do you exactly mean when we say somebody head of the family? That means he is a leader to the family. So that from where the whole story starts, we say that why can't we go back to matriarchal families? Like Kerala has matriarchal families. And we somehow think they're doing very good at matriarchal families. The question is not about whether matriarchal family or patriarchal families. When we are addressing a family as either matriarchal or patriarchal families, we are saying that who is the leader of the family? And we are also trying to decide and judge on the results and analysis of who is leading a family. The whole leadership starts from there. It's as simple as that. Why aren't families successful under a leader or under a B leader? It is because it's not that how achieved a leader is. It's very important how many people the leader has made to open up to be achievers. That's all is about the leadership. The leadership starts within the family. It has to be learned within the family. It doesn't come anywhere outside the family. If you just see many people, for instance, if you just see, Indira Gandhi ji, Father Nehru was a leader. If you see Rajiv Gandhi, becoming somebody, it is because Indira Gandhi was a leader. Now, it is very important that within a family first, the quality of a leader has to be defined. And probably there are two generations who are actually facing the right, in search of the right definition of leadership. For instance, if we are talking about somebody like me, who belongs between 45 to 50 age group, we are the people who have seen a conservative families when compared to the children whom we raised are totally from a different background requirement with the ecosystem that they're being brought up. Now, if we look at these children, now most of you should have been around your 30s, your 20s, your 35s, 40s, were looking forward for, setting up your own leadership roles in your organizations. But if you just go back and think for your own self, who were you impressed about? He's none other than your leader. It could be your mother, it could be your father, it could be your brother, it could be your sister. The reason why I'm bringing things so close to somebody who is very closely related to us is, unless we do not take our examples or our case studies from somebody who is so close to us, we would never be able to understand what is the next step in our life. If we keep searching for leaders who are in books, we don't know who they are. We do not know how their every day went on. We often feel that, when at our homes, that children don't open up to us. Why? Means we aren't the right leaders then. A leader is a leader to whom his subordinates open up, because the leader is a mentor. People have to open up to a leader. Students have to open up to teachers. Teachers have to open up to principal. Principals have to open up to the management. Whenever you see a leader is not somebody who is aggressive by their looks, who is aggressive by their thoughts, who is aggressive by the way they can suggest to people how to get out of darkness and how to move into light. They are the people who can give the hand and pull them out. They are not the people who have to critique. A leader should never criticize a subordinate, because the moment you criticize somebody, there is something called touch me not feeling of a plant. You just come closer. That's the reason often, when children in a class, a set of class, little notorious side, when they question, the moment teacher taunts, either they become more mischief or they go to the back bench. And the student always sitting on the front bench is worried and thinks 100 times before questioning the doubt that he gets, because he always wants to be in good books of a teacher. Every time I have observed that a subordinate wants to be in good books of his leader or her leader. No. Why so much of stress? Then how are somebody a good leader? A leader is somebody who is like a parent. According to me, a leader is somebody who is like a parent. He is already at that stage because he is ready to mentor a set of people. How would you mentor somebody if you don't let them make mistakes? And if you don't give them the freedom to express their mistakes? That is very, very, very important for a leader. A leader should know how to walk in darkness because his subordinates are scared of the darkness. Having seen the darkness and moving into the light, a tunnel of light, he exactly knows how to hold the hand and take his subordinate into the tunnel of darkness and help them to see the light. And leader is not somebody who would want to be showcased first. A leader is somebody who stands behind the screen. A leader is somebody, who needs to have the wisdom of, not wanting at forefront the publicity. King never gets into the war on first. So is the leader. Whenever a project is given, is the leader wise enough to say that it's not done by me, it's done by my team. A leader is me, together. We all is a leader. Leader is not one person. Leader is his team. When we see an IPL match, we see a match between a match. Surprisingly, earlier, when there was like a world match happening, cricket world match, we often used to see that in West Indies versus India, India versus Pakistan. Now, what's happening? Who bought which IPL team? Now it is Ambani versus somebody, Shah Rukh Khan versus somebody else. What does that mean? That means the team that is being bought are more, broad in a perspective to understand and push the captain. We have seen that new corporate styles have got into the IPL teams through, entrepreneurs like them. And while we have seen, film celebrities who have got into, they know the ups and downs of life. So they equally started, mellowdowning the intense feeling of the cricket, the captain to shoulder the whole pain and problem. In fact, after IPL, if we can really observe, the team spirits have changed and they become more stronger than before. Now, there's always a turn for everybody to become a leader there, and it's not the single captain who is blamed there. The whole team, and probably now the team buyers are blamed more than the team itself. If we can look at the whole story, how do we become leaders? The leader need not be somebody with guts. Many at times we see that when top leaders of very big multinational companies, when look at them, they look so simple. They dressed very normally. When they talk, you feel easy, the leader. They don't exhibit who they are, the way they get dressed up or the way they talk aggressively. They are leaders because of the teams and teams' achievement. If a family is very successful, and the credit goes to the team leaders because they let the family open up. They let the family talk to them. They let the family question them. A leader is somebody who should be always ready for a correction. A leader is somebody who should be asked questions. Like you, for instance, now in another 15 minutes, you all want to question me. Just because it's an interactive session, I take question, that doesn't mean that, I'm at an elevated position. No, you can just question me right, left, the way you want to question me. The criteria is not that whether I have answers. I may not have answers for most of your questions. But the criteria is whether I am cool enough to take your question. It's okay, I have answered today, but probably I learned something because of your questions today. And probably I share it to somebody else tomorrow. But what is very important, a leader can never be egoistic. Leader also has to know that he also can fail. And every failure is a lesson for him, as much as every failure of a subordinate is a lesson for him and a subordinate. Life is not about anything taking very seriously because we will die one point of time. Leadership is to take everything with a good spirit. Win or lose doesn't really matter. Whether we have participated sincerely is important, whether the leader has participated sincerely. When a person quits a particular company, you need to have people who shed tears for him, that why we didn't have him more. Or why is he retired so quickly? Why did he age so quickly? That is when a leader is called a leader. Habba, it's so nice. This fellow left this company. That is what most of the times we listen. And we also listen that, like leader thinks it is right when he poses onto his subordinates the rules or the time targets. Yes, everything is financially bound. But to make somebody work, if putting a knife on his throat is a right way, I would say rewarding is the best way. Now, rewards need not be an expensive reward. Reward is a recognition. Why do we all live for that matter? Why do you want to become even leader? Why we just do not want to be one participant and get out? Because we all thirst and thrive for recognition. And recognition comes out of performance. If you put a knife on my throat, can I dance on a stage? I cannot. I can't sing. So is even a performance of in an IT company or in a business entity. And people always have to think that a leader is an out-of-box thinker. We can be influenced by our leaders, but still we need to make our own place and our own identity. We need to experiment the way we think. We shouldn't be scared the way we think. At many times when leaders take so many calls, if you just can go through, many successful people who have been leaders. For instance, why anybody else? Let's take a prime minister with the Modi's example. During COVID, all of us for that matter were annoyed that he was distributing the vaccines entire world. And we were extremely annoyed. But today, if you look at the way he's been invited in Australia, we all clap. So leader is a visionarist. He knows what's going to happen tomorrow. So he needs to have the guts to implement it today. For that, there's something called inner conscious. So he needs to think twice and thrice. For that, he needs to open up his thought for a conversation, for a debate. People may debate. They may like, they may not like. They may pass on critics. That's what Adi Shankaracharya says. A religion only grows when it is thrown for debate. If a religion grows by debate, imagine what an individual and a leader can grow as. That's the reason Adi Shankaracharya has established himself as a more strong religious leader than many other gurus who have come in Hinduism. So it is very, very important that we open up our thoughts as much as we should let our subordinates also open up thoughts. Being a leader is not one day's job. It's a process of learning. It's a process of becoming a leader every day. We are not just leaders at office. We need to be leaders at home. We need to be leaders with friends. We need to be leaders in the office, everywhere, in society. And leaders also know how to sacrifice when time comes. And are we ready to sacrifice is important? Because all these things, in a way, I would say that a leader is in a very, very modern terminology to be called as, he's a corporate sannyasi. That is what one should learn. That is where he makes many people learn and understand, experiment, and helps himself to grow. An individual can grow by his own experiences and along with the experiences of entire community that he is living with. He needs to be smart. He just cannot say that my experiences are the right experiences. No, he is a smarter leader, who actually grabs the experiences of everybody around whom he lives his life within 24 hours. He can pick up from many people. He can pick up from failures, because unless he would not listen to a failure, he would never know why a particular person has failed in his endeavors. So it is a very, 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 very important, because he is the person who has to figure out answers for failures. And it is not great to add one more success. Very long back, when I was just in my 23, 24, when I was giving a management session, for corporates, I was taking a personality development class. In that, I would just show, I just asked people to make all of we make x-axis and y-axis. There is Ayating sitting in front of me. I'm a little scared to talk about this. Sir, you have to excuse me if I make some mistakes, because I don't belong to tech background. I only talk very simple. Is it visible?
It is not visible, ma'am.
Okay, I'll just make it with probably a sketch. Now, is this visible now?
Yes, there's
Now it's visible, right?
It is.
We have 4 quadrants here. So I believe this is plus and plus quadrant, and this is plus and minus quadrant. This is minus and minus quadrant, and this is minus and plus quadrant. I think I'm right. Most of the times what happens is we have either qualities like this and few qualities like this in us. Usually what we'll end up doing is we want to search to bring one more good quality in us. We always keep trying to upgrade our qualities like this. But we often forget that when we have these cars, how much ever we may try to become a leader, we cannot. Rather, I would suggest know the unknown devil in you rather than inviting a new God. Remove this known devil in you rather than inviting an unknown God. The moment you know there's a devil, you work with this devil, the devil vanishes. It becomes a known God here. Work with these devils in you. Don't try to acquire new gods whom we even do not know who they are. So rather, I would say, know your own faults. Be your own critic. Remove them. They just don't only vanish. They add up here. Look at the advantage of life. It's so beautiful. That is how I would say that a leader happens. Leaders should never have, again, I would repeat, any kind of an ego. A leader can even hear from his own office boy, maybe in a more humble way, but then he can even hear from his own office boy. The very, very younger days, my school days, there was something called on saying please. There is an English lesson which titles as on saying please. And such a beautiful lesson it is. He is a very big official from an office, and then he had a small issue with his wife, and he just took his bag and he got into bus, because that was a very younger days of mine, and a writer would have been much older by then, and so he didn't talk about any cars or any other very luxurious transport. So the moment he got into the bus, somebody has stamped on his feet. And imagine he's doubled up with his angry wife, and then this fellow, he just reached the office and he was about to open his lift door, and there was a watchman sitting there, a lift guy sitting there. He yells at the lift guy. He gets irritated. The poor lift guy tries to say, good morning, sir. But he's so irritated, he shouts at him. Then this guy leaves. Then somebody else walks into the lift. And this fellow keeps his frowned face, the lift guy, because his day is any case spoiled. Then the lift guy leaves. He goes home back. He shouts on his wife. Now look at this. Now whom do you have to blame? The small, simple lift boy who shouts on his wife? Or such a big corporate guy shouting on a lift guy? Where are leaders now? Tell me. Where do we find leaders? This we do every day in our life. We shout at a watchman. We shout at a liftman. Yeah, when they do a mistake, you trying to correct them is different thing. A leader is somebody who cannot carry forward emotions. No, then you are never a leader. Leader is like a sponge. Whatever we teach women to be, like woman has to be cool, woman has to be bearing, woman has to be patient. Woman turned is a leader. A man who turns to be like a woman is a leader. That's it. What all you expect from a woman, a leader has to learn to be that. Very patient, very learning, very teaching, very receiving, very caring. Somebody then may ask that, if somebody is so nice, then how can he become a leader? Then people take an advantage of it. Then people will start doing their own way of work. You can be categorical, even while being a leader. For that, you need to be very precise, very clear. For that, you need to be disciplined first. Unless you don't preach for your own self, you can't teach somebody else. So as a leader, while you are very understanding, very calm, wise enough, you don't have to say, why did you do this? You need to say that, I'm sorry, you have not done, you've just crossed. Thank you so much. At times, even a smile can kill people and convey to them what exactly you want them to do. But often, we as leaders, we lose our patience. That is very important. And once somebody can imbibe these qualities, I'm sure the leaders are all over. And leader always has to upgrade their knowledge. We can never say that I'm done with it. I know so much. Because especially, even at home, we say children saying us, what do you know? We just say that, how dare you say that? But that question we know from our inner voice, we have no answer to it. Exactly. Many times we know our children know better than us. So a leader can never a leader can suppress a voice. No. If we do not know, keep the guts to say, keep the wisdoms to say, yes, I do not know. I'll upgrade myself and get back to you. We could be smart at our experiences, but we always need to upgrade our knowledge. Why people keep an retirement age? Not that because they are not capable of working. They get tired upgrading themselves. After a point, they think we do not have to upgrade ourselves. They think that we've grown old enough, we know everything. So in a very subtle way, they have told that, boss, ab bahut kaam kar liye. You got tired, please retire. In a very subtle way, in a very respectful way. So that the young blade has the ability, the energies, the attitude to learn new things. And they set the frequencies to coming up generations. Then they are put as on an advisory board. Once they retire, they are on the advisory board. Why? Advisors come out of experiences. I think we can just throw on to some questions. Maybe that makes more easy for me because I'm more an interactive person.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I think I must thank you for this amazing livening up of the situation around us this evening. Fridays, I look forward to having such kind of brilliant Fridays, and so a leadership conversation that you have lightened up, livened up is so beautiful. Thank you so much for delivering this opening remarks for this title called The Primary Job of Leadership. We will definitely take questions, and these questions come in two clusters. The first cluster will be taken up by Professor Prasad, and I'll come back for the second cluster. In a nutshell, the introductory remarks that you have made about leadership are so around our life kind of situations, examples that we have encountered day in and day out. The fact that leadership begins at home immediately has transported us to look at how our parents behaved and who were the leaders, who were not the leaders, or elders at home, how they behaved. Did they allow us to open up? Did we open up to them? Or opening up happened in our school, which we parallelly did. A large part of our lives, we went to school. And in the school, did the teacher ask us or encourage us to open up? Not many did, and not many opened up. There was one reality check that we did very quickly while listening to you. Similarly, we moved to college. Again, I
was always that student, was scolded by teachers for opening up. That's the reason I know this.
Excellent. Yes, there are a large number of teachers. There were a large number of teachers like that. But today, some great institutions like ICFAI, they champion the spirit of academic inquiry. So that's a different world altogether. But let me continue. The fact that you helped me, or most of us, to go back and check in our corporates, in our society, in our teams of friends, when we played cricket or when we engaged with our kabaddi teams, all these places had given rise to some scope of leadership and given a scope for some testing of what it was. Who was the real leader? Was I the leader? Was somebody else the leader? Did anybody do right or wrong? I think this opening remarks session has actually helped us touch base with all these past experiences and the current ones as well. When you talked about saying that leader is someone who will not fail. Yes, you don't expect that leader will not fail. Leader will fail. Anybody can fail. Nobody is infallible. But the teams also will have to look at the leader, that the leader can fail. So it is mutual, and society's conditioning, the team members' conditioning, the conditioning of the corporate, conditioning of the employees, everything has to work in tandem. And I'm sure the give and take has to be distilled very well on both the sides. So there are several questions that we will have definitely on these conversations, without bordering on feminism, without bordering on one statement that you mentioned, that if a man turns into a woman, then he is a leader, is a statement which we have taken it very positively. And hopefully we will debate that when we have time towards the end. With these opening remarks, you have made a lot of people sit up and write their questions also. We will take those questions, ma'am. I want to thank you. And at this point, I want to make a mention that some very interesting people are around the screen. Leaders from media, leaders from education, leaders from armed forces, defense forces. We have Air Marshal Harikumar. We have PhDs from academic institutions. We have leaders from technology, people from US. We have people from healthcare. We have people from finance. We have Brigadier Rajiv Sethi. Welcome, Brigadier. We have distinguished advisor, Professor Mahendra Reddy. We have Mrs. Ratnabanu, our CFO, our woman leader in our office. And we have people from PR. We have people from people who have trained civil servants. Professor S.C. Sharma has joined. He has trained civil servants at Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy. I think the collective experience of all these people would be more than 500 years. That's what I guess. And the kind of things that they have done. So it enriches the discussion today. And I'm very, very happy. I want to thank all of them. That's the reason I've taken a few names. A few other names I'll take next time. Thank you all. Over to Professor Prasad for the first cluster of questions. I'm eagerly waiting to learn from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rao. I think from the many leadership sessions that we've had, which have dwelled on leadership, this has been a distinct one in the sense that it has directly focused on the self. I mean, on me. I mean, I remember the book by Stephen Covey called The Leader in Me. It's about school children and what they do in schools. And so you have brought it center stage to what the leader in me needs to do, which is very practical. I mean, it's possible to do it far more easily than mouthing a lot of platitudes, which are academic. They're there in books, they're high sounding words, but unless that translates into what the leader does, nothing much happens. So that was the highlight of what I could take from what you said. And of course, there were a number of points, including this, if I may call it the Ardhanarishwara point that, Professor Sudhakar wants to discuss later. So, ma'am, let me come to the first question. It's a little bit about you. Can you delve on a couple of experiences which have shaped the sort of thinking in you and the sort of practice in what you bring to the table?
Speaking very frankly, I don't know how much it is acceptable to you all. I think Mother Goddess Parvati is my inspiration. Because if you can just look at who she is before Mahishasura Mardhanam, she's a simple woman sitting beside King Shiva. But if you actually look at that, all men are actually, when they fail to kill Mahishasura, she brings back the all energies that she has given to the entire gods in different forms, kills Mahishasura, super leader, but again comes back to be a simple wife besides Shiva. That is a leader. A leader is somebody who doesn't pose, I am a leader. A leader has to be chosen by people when they fail to do something, because they know who the leader is. And how do they know who the leader is? Because a leader knows in everyday life to be an idol. There are idol roles. She knows. Shiva Shaktya Yukta Yadi Bhavati Shakta Prabhavitum Nache Devam Devo Nakalu Kushala Spanditumapi Asatva Maradhyam Arigara Virinchadi Virapi Pranamtum Stotum Vakatamakuta Punya Prabhavitum. All the Trimurtis touch her feet. And she could have become very egoistic. Why isn't she? Because a leader is accepted with a lot of love. Only when the leader doesn't pose that he or she is a leader. They're always a giver while they're also receivers. They have to be down to earth, anchored. That is from the Mother Goddess I have learned these things.
Ma'am, can you share another experience too? I mean, this is a divine experience, and we constantly keep looking at the divine experience. And thank you for that. Because I guess it's from Saundarya Lahari.
Yeah, it was first stanza of Saundarya Lahari.
Yeah, excellent, ma'am. Excellent. Can you give us?
Yes. Yeah. Please carry on.
So can you narrate? As I said, I wanted to. So you gave me one.
When I was in NCC.
Yeah.
Because many of the armed forces men are here. I think they would. I don't know how would we take it, but I'm sure they would really feel nice about this experience of mine. I was in NCC. I got selected to RD camp. It was in 1992 January. I was also selected. I was in a naval department. I got selected to RD Delhi camp. Surprisingly, like I was there, got selected in the Rajpath March also. I was a contingent commandant. I mean, I was the head of my own contingent, which I represented Andhra Pradesh. Then it was United Andhra Pradesh. I was into senior wing girls. And I was supposed there, before reaching that place, I'm also a classical dancer. There was one more girl who is from junior wing. Her name is Aishwarya. Thank you so much for asking me this question. As you are asking me, I'm able to remember this. The girl is a very good dancer and she's a Kuchipudi dancer. While I am a dancer, I will not say myself I'm a good dancer, but I'm a Bharatanatyam dancer. Usually what happens in army culture, they would not know which dance is what. They want to know dance which is tough to perform. So if you take Kuchipudi dance, they perform on a plate. They take, small kind of a vessel on their head and they dance. So according to army, a set of competitions, it is very difficult. Somebody performing from Andhra Pradesh always got first prize because it is very difficult to do this gymnastics. And this is done in Kuchipudi. It is not done in Bharatanatyam. While I performed my dance, Bharatanatyam, the girl, small girl, she's from a junior wing. She performed her dance. And you would be surprised that at that time, I just came out of typhoid and malaria double attack. And I didn't want to, my mother said that if you stay at home, you will become fat, you'll become obese. So suddenly I heard about the NCC RD camp. I said, okay, let me put myself into camps so that I will never become obese and I'll continue to be slim and well maintained. Because I was in graduation first year those days. I took the camp. But mid of the camp, when I was moving towards my RD selections, one fine day I was aggressively practicing dance practice and I just fell down. And in a car, I was there. This junior wing, that girl also was there because she was running nose and she had little fever. My full colonel was sitting. My assistant colonel was sitting. And after some time, I started hearing their voices. And probably I am around 17-year-old by then. They were saying that, my name is Madhavi. And they were saying that, I don't think Madhavi is the right person to take up this dance competition because she doesn't know this plate wala dance. And plate wala dance hi apan ko, prize leke aayega national level pe. And I am worried whether she will let Aishwarya take up her position there. Aishwarya is a junior winger. And the person who was talking is from Tirupati and the girl is also from Tirupati. So I came out of my unconscious state and I still didn't open my eyes. I was a smart lady then. I thought if I open my eyes, they're not going to talk anymore about me. So I wanted to hear what they were talking. And when I heard that, so they were planning how do they push me back and put Aishwarya forward. But again, at the last they were talking, one more statement they uttered. If we pull her back also, we have a disadvantage here because who is going to play the singing part of the dance and the Natvangam? Natvangam is the jati. Tayyum tatta, tayyum taha. This is a jati. Who is going to do this? Apart from me, nobody can do that. So they also wanted a friendship with me. When I heard this, I just kept quiet. I didn't open my eyes. As we approached the military hospital, then we were treated. We went back. Now tell me, at the age of 17, where I was supposed to get selected to RD, which it happened. But at that point of time, I didn't know whether I'm going to get selected or not. And the whole idea by colonel, if a colonel thinks they can just throw me out of it, you know how powerful it would be. In RD camp, we still were yet to go to Delhi. Now there is one more small girl. When I returned back to the camp, the first thing that I did is I went back to that small junior wing, Aishwarya, who is from Tirupati. I called her. I told only one thing. Aishwarya, if you were to be my own sister, I told her, I overheard the conversation. I told her because she knows the conversation. So she said, Akka, Didi, nothing like that. She said, don't be scared, dear. If I were to be your elder sister and you were to be truly my younger sister, what would I have done? I would have let you dance because there are two things here. The contingent winning is more important here. Me performing is not important. But if I tell something, the colonel wouldn't be ready to listen to me because he's already closed his mind. So you would go to the colonel and tell, I spoke to Didi and convinced her, let you get the points. I don't mind. Tell him that she will do the Natvangam and singing for my dance and she will help me and mentor me. I will do the original performance and represent Andhra Pradesh at Delhi. I made her go and tell that because I wanted even my colonel to cool down. Because at the end of the day, it is not how he spoke about me. It is what is important that I found there, that he was representing Andhra Pradesh and he was worried Andhra Pradesh to win. I could only see the concern in him, not somebody pointing out to me that he want to remove me. I didn't find any favorism of Tirupati there. I only found his pressure to make Andhra Pradesh win in the dance competition. In fact, me, that girl, have become such good friends. I even pressed her legs in the entire camp to ensure she performs well on the last day. And we won golden dance and got back Andhra Pradesh. So it's like, like we would be pointed out by much more elder and powerful people. But how would we receive it is important. If I look at the colonel on that day thinking that he doesn't want me, it's a different way to think. But if I think that what is the pressure colonel is undergoing to make Andhra Pradesh win in dance, by understanding the culture and psychology of the examiners there, there's a different way to think about it. And also it is a teamwork. That is what is important in a leader. That I have realized, as I grew big, older and older. That's the reason I told that a leader has to behave like a woman. Shamaya Dharitri. The kind of patience an earth has, and it can excuse. A leader should have the ability to have patience and excuse. That's how they become a leader. And I was, in fact, titled as the best contingent leader ever who represented Andhra Pradesh. But for that, we need to gain a lot of confidence of our own subordinates, people who walk along with us.
Excellent examples, ma'am. The first case, you have highlighted it. And I think the point that, I take away was that most of the times mother is mother, but when it requires a bit of force, mother is there to deliver that force. Most of the time it is care. Most of the time it is the positive angle which is coming through and getting done. And the second example, I was able to pick up that leadership needs this ability to think beyond what is transpiring in front of you. You will have to look at it through the eyes of others, particularly those who are able to see things that one is not able to see. So they have, that is their own pressure. But many times one is not able to see that, and then one is able to accommodate to the larger. These are the 2 points that I was able. Thank you, ma'am. So now I'd like to connect it to the next question. I mean, this the second example that you gave, I'm going to connect it to the next question. Today, leaders are accountable to multiple stakeholders, not just the management. You have the staff, and today you have got ESG, society, environment. You got to report it, and then you have to convince people that yes, you are doing something about it. So, in such circumstances, how do they prioritize? How do they go about setting? I'm sure in your own organization you'll be seeing this one way or the other.
The first thing which is very important is that, and I don't try to impress anybody. For how long would we try to impress anybody? What is very important is, do we follow the protocols? I never violate a protocol. I never break a process. I would not do anything that is not legally acceptable. I do not go against my inner voice. And I never put down my boss down in front of my subordinates. But I can't impress anybody throughout my life. I am whoever I am. But am I following these principles is important. I don't break a protocol. I don't cut across a process. I don't do anything that is illegal or immoral. I never shut down my inner voice questions. I answer them. I debate my inner voice. I raise up. And I never talk ill about my boss to my subordinates. I may dislike my boss, but I never talk bad about my boss. I always try to understand why my boss is like that for the sake of my subordinates, irrespective of whatever I may have and different opinion about it. While I'm following these, I'm considerate to my subordinates when they come with a problem. While I'm doing this, I can only perform to the extent whoever I am. I can't become mango if somebody asks me to become a mango. I can't become a grape if somebody wants to become me to grape. People have to choose what they want from me. I am whoever I am. I don't drink Coke when I'm thirsty, right? I'll still go search for water only. But do I say I'm water? Do I say clearly I'm a juice? Is what is important. I don't turn to be juice, water, coconut water, Coke, the way people want me to be. I cannot and I will not. Maybe I can, but I will not. So a leader always should know that this is their identity. And they themselves cannot play around with their identity.
Fantastic, ma'am. I think the points, the principles which have been mentioned are extremely doable. I mean, in the sense that if you're given any situation or kind of a borderline where you have to choose between things, it's possible to use these principles and do that. Thank you, ma'am. So now we come to the third question. And this is about, developing leaders, developing others. So that is the topic. So what are the criticalities, whether it's in the family or whether it's at work? What are the criticalities in terms of developing others, and what kind of skills that one need to develop? The key ones one needs to develop in order to ensure that as one goes, one is taking a,
The first and foremost thing the leader has to ensure is people have to be physically fit. You can't have tummy police officers. Do you accept? If a military officer, armored officer has a tummy coming up like this, you don't, right? So being physically fit is not only a requirement of somebody who belongs to security services or, from the police or from military. Being physically fit is a requirement of the entire team. And first, that is which is important a leader has to maintain. A leader himself has to be fit, healthy. I'll give you a very small example for that. My hospital has 9 floors. Whenever I walk into my hospital, I never take lift. And I tell my subordinates, भाई आप तो बहुत बड़े उम्र के हैं, आप छोटे हैं उम्र में लेकिन बहुत बड़े हो गए आप लिफ्ट ले लीजिए, मैं सीढ़ियों पे चले जाता हूँ. I don't tell them to come with me on the staircase. I don't tell them to climb along with myself. My dear colleagues or subordinates, whoever are there, you please take lift. But my principle is to take staircase. And you would not believe, whatever they may be cursing me, they ensure they only take steps along with me when I am there. And they know. And at times I see somebody gasping. They can't take stairs. I tell them, please take lift. And I ensure they take lift. But don't you think a person who cannot take even staircase for 2 stairs gasps, has an ability to work? Where will your physical, mental ability comes if you're not letting your serotonins produce? Technically, how is your serotonin produced? Unless until your heartbeat doesn't touch 130 to 140 and blood pressure doesn't raise to that extent, the serotonin of the brain doesn't even produce. And when serotonin is not produced in the brain, how can you make somebody help to take decisions? They're always confused. Serotonin is produced in your stomach. A leader should always ensure they eat on time. My sky may break down and fall if I am in a meeting and I cannot disburse my subordinates for lunch. I ensure snacks or lunch are produced on the conference table or at my meeting table. They eat and they talk. Why can't they? Why meetings have to be so serious as if we are just deciding Indo-Pak war? They do not have to be. My meetings are not like that. My subordinates' health is my health. They have to eat on time. So I give them the liberty to tell, madam, it's lunchtime. So they just show me like this. Then I check. Then if it is very important meeting, I supply intermediate snacks for them. I ask them, have they got their lunch boxes? How many of you really bother to ask if your subordinates have got lunch boxes? Okay, if there is food, good enough. But if there is somebody's mother is sick, wife is sick, they would not have got, I ensure that. I ensure their food. Bhojye Shumata. That's the reason they say that, more, madam, we'll first finish it. The moment I ask, they feel so touched. How do you touch your subordinates? You touch by love, by concern, by taking care of them. That's how I keep them healthy, by food. I look at them. The moment I look into their eyes, I see how they are mentally on that day. I immediately get out of my table. I go outside. I call that particular person out. What's your problem? Because my entire meeting is useless if that person is not concentrating there. But my 5 to 10 minutes spending with that person would actually make my entire meeting fruitful. So that mental well-being. They say first, no, madam, nothing. I say, no, my dear, there is some issue. I may not be able to solve. At least can I hear to it? All my subordinates talk to me. They all express their pain to me. It's not whether I can solve. It's not I'm Jesus, but I'm a mother because I'm a leader. Not I'm a woman. I'm a mother because I'm a leader. Maybe I'm a father because I'm a leader. I listen to them. Suddenly you can see the kind of relief that comes in their face. They get back to the meeting. They note down all the points with a lot of happiness. They have their food. They disperse. Another important thing. They also tend to forget. So I have my own follow-up mechanism. It's very important. Why can't subordinates forget? Why can't that they would have got a phone, there is some issue happening on the phone, suddenly they jump over the work? So I have my own mechanism. So I ask them, did you keep an alert on your phone? You have an alert to do your own things. You have no alert for the job, office work. I ensure they put an alert. They take a screenshot and send it to me once in a while. So I police. I keep checking once in a while. That is very important. You need to know they also can get tired. Another thing, how many times do they have get-togethers with their family? If it is a woman who is working with us, we reward the man of the family. If a man is working with me, I reward the wife. I send a gift to his wife. Why should you gift your employees? You should give their partners, because the partner thinks that, they have been recognized for giving the time for their partner to your office. So I reward the partner. I mean, it's a big story, in a whole day, it keeps on. That's the reason my employees, I would say, I am fortunate to have my employees or my kind of, whoever work with me. They love me a lot. And they're like my children more than any employees. I don't know whether you would want to call it the corporate style or not. But for me, we would not know hours together. They work beyond their hours to me without any OT. Once you go to higher project leaders, you can't say OT, right? OT is not meant at that level. They work for 13 hours, 14 hours, 15 hours. And more surprising thing, I don't know how many of you can do this. I do night visits. Surprise, midnight, 2 o'clock, I get up, I take a car and I go away. I go and see who is doing what. So I'm a demon there for them. They think that there comes a devil. Because then I am not, no more mother, no more love. So they don't know. When I perform, they do not know. When I do not perform, they do not know. They don't know my schedules. They don't know when I'm watching them. They don't know when I just land up into the organization. To become a leader is not a 5-hour, 6-hour, 7-hour, 8-hour, 9-hour job. To be a leader is a 24/7 personality. It's a personality. Like Krishna is a leader. Lord Krishna is a leader. That's the reason he's guru. A guru is a leader. Today you've called me like a guru to talk. Unless I'm a leader, I can't be a guru. And guru is not guru without being a leader. And Krishna performed every time. That is what is being a leader.
I think here too you brought in a lot of very near what you are, what you do day in, day out, elements which are practicable, which finally make you a leader, which finally, it defines what leadership is beyond all the text and the words and whatever else comes, the music which comes with that. I think these are the elements, and which is why you mentioned it as 24/7. I'll take one more question, ma'am. There are many more, and then I'll hand it back to Mr. Rao. And this is, a contrary question. What are the things that leaders should not?
Can you please repeat the question again? There is some voice break for me, please.
Yeah. So what are the key things that the leader should not do?
Very simple. What you would not want to happen to your own self. I don't want to be insulted. I want to be recognized. I think I'm righteous. If I want to go and complain to a police department, if constable asks me a bribe, don't I get irritated? But if I'm sitting on a constable chair, if I want to ask same bribe, how am I different at different situations? I don't want to be pinpointed in the crowd. How do leaders usually behave? They pinpoint people in the crowd. You have done this mistake. Why? It comes as a third or fourth. Samadhana Beda Dandopayam. You can't jump to Dandopayam immediately. Samadhana Beda. You talk, you convince, you explain them, then you humbly you scold them at a little higher pitch. Then you tell that, you are going to get a punishment. Then finally the final punishment. You can't jump to the final punishment because it hurts your own self. So leader first has to write down what is that hurts me. Because it's very difficult to understand somebody else's psychology. What is easy to understand? Self-psychology. If I am in pain, I will be very down in office on that day. In fact, we look forward. that our friends and colleagues say, "Arey, why Madhavi? Why are you down today? Why you look like that?" So is that any somebody else will expect from you? Life is very simple. That's the reason I don't complicate. I only talk about very simple things in a small language. What is not acceptable to you is what leaders should not do. Anything else I tell big things, they will not remember. But this is the easy way to remember. I don't like somebody else coming late. Then I should not come late. I come late, I have a reason. Then somebody else also will have a reason. What you want others to do is what you should do. What is not acceptable to you, whether you can help them or let them go for that.
I think it tallies well with the Bible, do unto all to others what you would like others to do unto you. Excellent, ma'am. I think these are very, very doable, and it looks more like personality development. It is.
That is the reason these sessions are for. These sessions are not for to tell big things, big jargons, big formulas. These sessions are meant after listening whether somebody can straight away from the minute they listen, can they implement them or not.
Absolutely. It is more about practice than theory. So I'll pause at this stage. I hand it back to Professor Rao for the next cluster.
Thank you, ma'am. I've been patiently enjoying the conversation and the questions and responses.
That's a nice comment, patiently enjoying.
Yeah, because I would like to myself be in the thick of this questioning and answering session. So I'm sure many members around the screen are also planning to be part of it. I request all of them to raise their hands and I can take their questions anytime. I'll open the mic. But before they decide to raise their questions, open their mic and also their videos, ma'am has mentioned one thing. You should have the guts to be seen. You should have the guts to make your statement. So being seen is also a statement. So please open your videos as well, while the audios will be open for you when you raise your hands. And the first question I'll take, ma'am, for this very interesting session is often in terms of practice versus theory, which one comes first is a different question altogether. But some of the more relatable examples will give us one question immediately, and that is, how does a leader ensure that they are not only concentrating on the top performers, but also motivate the broader team? I mean, that balance and focus, do you have any suggestions and techniques so that they extend their appeal to a broader team and not just focus on the top performers? For example, when we attended classes in our, say, 4th or 5th, during that time, Padma teacher used to teach for Gautam, Anil and Ashok, the mathematics, the trigonometry that she used to teach was only for the 3-4 guys who sit in the front bench. That was also a moment of truthful leadership. And today, cut it down by 45 years or so, how do we develop leaders, or how do leaders ensure that they extend their appeal to a broader team and not just focus on top performers?
Such a beautiful question. In fact, that sometimes questions actually help us to answer more than talk. The thing I love more an interactive session. And actually, you already given me a lead of a school example. So now that's more easy for me to answer this question. Often teachers have a lot of interest on front bench or the first 2 bench students because they make their life easy. It's selfish teachers, I would say. Because these students, they hold on to their books that they bring for correction. All the books they collect for these teachers, they take back. I would say it's a chamchagiri, chaplusi they're teaching for the children on the front bench. Same thing happens. Those set of few people who are close to project manager or project leader, they do chamchagiri and chaplusis. If you can openly accept it. Who would not want to listen and accept this? Those fellows are second benchers or third bench, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. But the last benchers are those people who have little inability to understand the topic going the way it is going. Not that they're incapable. The last benchers are not incapable. They, at that point of time, they are not able to follow because the teacher is not having the ability to reach the requirement of the last bencher. So the best way to solve this is mix match the students and don't ever give the result as a single result. That means the entire room of the students or the subordinates under a project leader has to be divided into clusters, where every cluster should have all kind and set of people of a project. And there has to be competition between clusters, not between individuals. And when such clusters are made, it is not the smartest fellow in the cluster who has to answer or present the project. Whom you think is weak has to present, for which the marks will go to the leader. So that cluster whom you think is the best fellow gets marks when from the non-performer, according to you, does the presentation. So the performer starts becoming friend to everybody, and you're actually making a leader. A performer now turns to be a leader, and non-performer turns to be a performer. So you have to reward the performer for turning that cluster into a performing cluster. Non-performer will perform with the help of the performer, and reward goes not to the non-performer who has given the presentation, but the performer who helped him to do the presentation.
Oh, this is actually beautiful. I'll tell you why it is.
And in every season, we need to change these clusters. Otherwise, unions start forming.
Absolutely.
That is another very important thing a leader should know. You never should let unions form. So every time these clusters change and there's a new cluster again, and you would see in a span of time, you will not have non-performers. And it is not because of one leader. It's a smart planning that people within themselves start making the other perform, because their performance is the other reward for somebody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is so much relatable, man. I couldn't have become more happy listening to this response. I'll tell you why. And on any random day, if you visit ICFAI Business School, this is what exactly we do by structure, as an institutional practice. We have students coming, as you know, from all parts of the country, in Hyderabad also. Similarly, in all the 16, 17 locations in the country, we have students from multiple states and multiple backgrounds. They come and join. So it's a diverse group. So by machine, we know the input into a given classroom. For example, we have to make sections. Each section is 60 students. And within that, each section, there is a diverse input into that classroom by selecting people who are not alike, all of them. It has to be heterogeneous in terms of past academic performance, in terms of gender, region, religion. We don't take caste, but yes, by name we can do that, up to religion. Region, where they hail from. People stop at gender, but I think we go to the extent of very, very carefully sensitizing them to have somebody who's their neighbor not known to them prior to actually joining the institution. They don't speak the same language. They don't wear the similar kind of dress. So when we do that, and when they form small groups for the case studies discussions, a large part of our education goes through case studies. They turn out to be very good friends because of that bonding, that camaraderie, and that puts into them what is called performance in your language, and builds teams for life sometimes. Some of them are friends for life, years on. But for that particular evaluation, when they work together, as you beautifully mentioned, that non-performers, when they are clubbed with performers, most of them become performers, and lead performers will have to be rewarded separately. I think this is nothing but a microcosm of what happens into any one of the campuses at ICFAI. So I was very, very happy listening to you, and I was almost trying to interrupt you in between. Out of joy, I was trying to interrupt you. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. I will take one question from the audience. Lavanya Garu.
I have some two questions here with Devang Patel and Srinivasrao.
Yes, we'll come to that. We'll come to
no issues.
I'm tracking all the questions. And
thank you. So nice of you. That's the most difficult work to really do.
Yes, ma'am. I'm requesting Lavanya Garu to open her video also, if it is possible.
Maybe they're chilling in a very night suit, so it's okay.
It's okay.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma.
Thanks a lot, ma'am, for the wonderful presentation. What you said reminded me of the poem If by Rudyard Kipling, about the ideal man. Somebody who walks with the kings but still retains his composure, and somebody who walks with the common folk, who interacts with the common folk but is still above board. So I just wanted to chip in with that. What you said reminded me of that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We will take up the other question, ma'am, now. How does a leader manage his or her vulnerability with self about how she is feeling about behavior of team? This is a very, very pertinent question. I'll read that again. How does a leader manage his or her vulnerability with self about how he or she feels about behavior of team? Is Devan Patelji available? We can open the mic for him. Otherwise, yes, ma'am, you can probably respond to that.
See, all of us have to know one thing that, none of us are 100% successful, and so even are our team members. For example, I'll come back again to a very small family example. Are children always performing the way the father wants? No, but that doesn't mean that children are not successful in life. If you are, you will still feel like a father and feel bad about it. But you need to understand that, take back the example of a family, and then try to understand that as a son, did you become what your mother or father wanted to become? Or as a grandchild, did you become what your grandfather or grandparents wanted to become? As a student, did you become what your teachers or school wanted to become? Or did you become what you wanted to become in childhood? As simple as that. Don't take the pressure of what your team is performing in a day. Nothing happens overnight. This is a psychological development. What is leadership? Psychological growth. We are evolution. We have seen a great evolution. Still, we do so many mistakes. In spite of all this, what I'm talking to you, like a great speaker, I do 110 wrong things in my life, day in, day out. How does it matter? See, one thing is very important. None of us are perfectionist. But leader has a problem. Leader wants to be a perfectionist. And we stress ourselves by trying to be perfectionist, by making others become perfectionist. Which leader is perfect? Tell me. I'll ask you one question. Can Vivekananda be whoever he is if he would have got married? Everybody has their own advantage. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, because he was a married man, he could understand the greatness of a woman. Dasharatha, because he had children, he could know the pain of losing a son, sending him away. So he cried and he died out of pain. Every role teaches us something or the other. And every role has its own limitations. Don't try to be perfectionist and don't expect your team to be perfect. The day you really, I'll tell you a very simple example. What I told my people. In a hospital, I have GREs who are called guest relation executives. At times they come to me and they say, Madam, you teach us so many things. You teach us to be very patient with patients and their attendants. Sometimes they yell, they abuse like anything. What do we have to do? I just tell them one thing, tell your patients and attendants, sir, 1 minute. Abhi mere ko phone aaya boss se, abhi 2 minutes mein aa raha hu. You make them sit there. You take a big round of entire hospital, take a cup of tea, have tea. Whomever you dislike, abuse everybody. After having a cup of tea, come back to this AM patient and say, bataiye saab, kya tha? Sorry, please let me help you, what I can help you. We are all human beings, end of the day. We all need our outbursting. That's the reason why women were sent to parents' place, native place, so that they go and can abuse and tell, scold, all complaints about husband and come back home light-hearted. So everybody needs an way out to escape their pain. So have nice, good time with your entire team members and subordinates, family. For example, call them as a family. You bring your family. Let them all talk. Let all those people talk to wives. Let all wives talk to their husbands. Chill out. Try to have excursions. Try to have some time outing with family, because if you do only with your employees, your families will suffer again. Or let it be a family get-together with employees. When they get to know each other, your life in the house also becomes easy. X doesn't know Suresh. Now your wife knows who is Suresh. Suresh, no, he had some work, so I had to help him. Oh, Suresh, it's okay. Now you do not know Suresh. Why today you'll tell Suresh, tomorrow you'll tell Ramesh, other day you'll tell some Venkatesh. So it's very important that a leader's family should be introduced to all your, subordinates or who are working along with you. With their families, they all need to gel together. There has to be a family bond between house and family also. Because your office is a first family, while your family is your second family. So they all need to become a family to have considerations. for each other.
Brilliant, ma'am. Brilliant. These things are actually fitting into the compartments that we have in our own minds. And wherever there is a little bit of blurring, that has been actually smoothened or cleared. I'm sure everyone around the screen is enjoying these responses. And
I was so scared when I was about to start this session. I thought I would be the most failure speaker ever in this session.
on the contrary, you are touching each and every person in terms of one of their immediate experiences, either in the office or in the home or in their friends or teams, play teams, wherever it is. So it is actually going amazingly well, ma'am. So
Thank you. Credit goes to ICFAI.
I mean, we actually don't talk about it, but yes, if you give, we'll take it, ma'am. Thank you. So we have Dr. Lakshman from US. He wants to ask a question. Lakshman, on the condition that you will ask a question and not just a compliment.
Definitely, sir. This time I'll definitely give both together, sir.
No. Just focus on the question. Compliments I will give. You take the question.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Hi, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening, Andy. Good evening.
Yeah, ma'am. So I have a question, ma'am. Let's say in an organization, people wants to change themselves because based on their previous psychological factors, grown-up attitudes. So if their mind will, their inner self says go right and their attitude says go left. So their mind says here and there, here and there, here and there every day, but his inner self says 60%. Yes, I want to change my attitude and I want to satisfy my leader and satisfy myself. But his grown-up attitude and the past psychological factors is not letting fulfill that activity. So for those kind of people, I think in this digital era and the screens, what they look every day closely and concentrating on that, and it is changing their psychological factors completely. It's not completely, slowly it is growing up. For those kind of people, what suggestion would you give, ma'am? I would like to hear that answer.
Thank you, Dr. Lakshmanji. In fact, I've put forward a very, very good question. The reason why I say very good question for most of the questions is because life is 360 degrees. No one question can be a good question. Many such questions only will help us to understand human perspective and psychology in totality. This is because of running lives. I mean, when I'm saying running life is not taking life every day. It is like we are doing a marathon of life. In life, we have made life so pathetic the way we are living it. We have only regarded with a kind of a checklist and we only express it in the form of performance. Not every time we give marks, we should give marks to the performance. These are those kind of people who are tired proving themselves day in, day out, and failing accordingly day in, day out. Why do you think somebody changes an organization if they're really appreciated in an organization? Do you think really? They're happy. Fighting out with new organization, again, adjusting to a new environment. It is like changing house again and again. Why would we want to change a house if our rents are fine, if our owner is nice, if Vastu is nice, if water is nice, if electricity is nice, if very school to our children, schools, we will not change. The problem here is that people are running away from organization to organization because organizations have become very westernized the way they are working. It is like Gurukula schools to us, children locked in a 4 walls calling as corporate schools. They have everything on a list. They have fantastic canteens. They have very good playgrounds. They have small skits. They have fantastic books. But end of the day, after 11th and 12th, they're good for nothing. What have they achieved in 17 years of their age? They would not have mastered even one thing. For this, how do we calm down these people is while we have sessions like whatever ICFAI is conducting, it's not that I'm good or I'm great, I'm somebody. That is where Hinduism helps us. We need to have philosophical sessions also for these people while you have consultation classes in your organization. People only calm down by philosophy. People only calm down by philanthropic works. Why doesn't organizations take all such people and make them cook for a day and serve poor? Do you know what it takes when somebody does that, those kind of works? People start calming down. their aggressiveness, their aggressions calm down. Because they have dissatisfaction in life and they do not know why the dissatisfaction they have. So you need to calm down through philanthropic works. Organizations have to, you people just give, but no, I'm not about you, I'm sorry. Companies just give away CSR funds. But do they ever think that, like, is that how you give CSR? People give CSR funds because it is mandatory. But you collect people and make them say, get potlucks from house and go to an orphanage center and let them serve the food. Let them not cook in the office, potluck. When potluck can be done for party, why can't potluck can be done to serve people onto the streets, orphanages? Why can't companies adopt orphan children where they can go and teach once in a month, one day? Why I'm saying these things is charity and philanthropy works make a person get satisfied in the world, because then he'll start comparing himself how worse the world is and how better he's placed or she's placed when compared to all those lives who are struggling even for 2 times food in a day, for a shelter, for clothing. While this helps them on philanthropic works to know where he is placed by God's blessings, they also have to get philosophical classes, religious classes. If you are not at a fanatic level, which I never suggest, maybe calm downing classes. We do 1 yoga day in a year. Why? Is yoga for 1 day? People have to have sessions. People have to learn to meditate, because today we are all running where the time is running. We are running. We don't know where to rest, where to stop. These things help us to decide where to calm down, where to stop. Then their satisfaction levels starts freezing. The contentness starts, and they start understanding where the contentness comes from. Once you teach them that, I'm telling you, they know what to do. They'll say, good enough, boss. That's the reason, if you can see in older days, in previous couple of generations, people used to work in companies till they retire. Why? Didn't they have problems? They had problems. All those big CEOs of huge companies are the people who stood for a longer period in those companies. Why? Because they know that we need to get, somewhere, learn what is called satisfaction. When they do not know, philosophy and philanthropy, these 2 things teach that. Companies have to adapt at a larger scale. Help them understand, because you are more mature than them.
I'm glad to hear this answer, ma'am. Thank you very much. Yeah, you enlightened me somewhat, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lakshman. I think we have to go back and deploy these measures. If you really love your team members, we should be able to help them calm down. And philanthropy, charity, philosophical or spiritual kind of exercises will definitely allow us to calm down, and then the satisfaction will spring up, and then we look for new ways to be successful, or more successful actually. It is no longer a facade, or it's no longer a race, but it is to their self-satisfaction that they come back so strongly. The work ethic will become very, very strong once we spiritually and philosophically address them and help them calm down. I think that's an amazing suggestion coming from a very, very practical leader of our times. Of course, the question began with leadership in the digital era. Yes, it is applicable to all the situations, India and abroad. It is applicable to online and non-online. It's applicable to school and college. It's applicable to sector like IT and non-IT. So fantastic. I think we should help individuals touch base with themselves by deploying some of these measures like ma'am has mentioned. Thank you so much, ma'am. I will now take one more question, and then we'll see if any other hand goes up. This is again a contrarian kind of a question. Based on the observations that some of the members around the screen would have made in their journey. So what makes or what causes leaders insecure? And therefore, what is your recipe for enhanced level of security for leaders?
What makes leaders insecure? I would tell you that they're seeing somebody else is becoming leader and crossing them. That is what is rabbit and tortoise story again comes back. This world, I would tell that somebody else has to grow, somebody else has to grow. Can we stop growth? We cannot stop growth. What we can do is appreciate growth. Otherwise, there is never growth on the earth. It's simple evolution, a formula of evolution. Growth next generation, next generation, next generation is like sun's rays. Can you stop sun's rays touching earth? You cannot. So why should you ever be insecure? Why don't you welcome them? By welcoming, you become a bigger leader. By stopping it, you never become a leader, and you are no more a leader. So a leader should never have insecurity, because you make leaders, and they make guru ni minchina sishudu. That is, a sisha above a guru. If you are made a leader, he is like your student, and if he's growing above you, that means that great you are, and you are like, jealous of your own student. And how is it possible? It's like, child showing a father how great he is, and father always has ego to accept. Why can't a child overgrow a father? Why can't a point child tell a father that, Dad, this is what is the mistake being done? So just get into that shoes. Think then you were son and you wanted something to tell your father and you couldn't tell him. As a leader, look back to that life. There always new leaders have to come. Always. Who knows? Your son could be in that among those new leaders of some other company. And some other leader is insecure, like you are insecure. Who knows? Your daughter is one more leader at some other place. So there is nothing called insecurity for a leader. The moment leader thinks is insecure, his journey has taken a dead end. As simple as.
Brilliant. Brilliant takeaway that leaders will have to keep on producing more leaders, and insecurity stems from the fact that it is anti-evolutionary. The evolutionary process is growth. So we need to appreciate growth. And if you have a parental if you have a father kind of ownership for developing leaders, then whatever output produced by the leader that you have produced will be owned by yourself, and there is no conflict in that. I think very, very profound and very, very practical as well.
I would tell one example to a very simple one-line example. Vivekananda has become more famous than Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. But Vivekananda always tells that I came from Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Now tell me, who has become famous? Vivekananda, while becoming famous, are made Ramakrishna mutts.
Brilliant.
That's it.
Yes.
That's simple.
Yes. We need to welcome change and we need to welcome competition, and that's where it begins. And I'm sure we end up producing more leaders. I think if we can take home this message that the single biggest factor to measure a leader is by the fact that if the leader has produced more leaders, then he's more successful or she's more successful. I think that.
In fact, we live long. In fact, we live long when we let leaders cross us.
We live long when we make leaders overtake us.
Yes, they grow beyond us. In fact, we live long because then we are told as examples by them to somebody else again and again and again. We create this school. We create this school of thought as individuals.
Brilliant, brilliant. It fits in amazingly well. Your style of leadership will produce more leaders and they will make you live longer beyond your existence. Your good work, your good thoughts, which in essence is the school of thought that lives for a longer time. So amazing, ma'am. Thank you very much. I don't want to become emotional here. Thank you very much. I will take one question that is from Mr. Muhammad Jainal Abedin. But before that, there is one related question in the box. And that question I want to address. Somebody is asking you, ma'am, Srinivas Rao is asking you, madam, are charismatic leaders born or made? But let me also tell you, ma'am, as a moderator, there is a compliment there for you.
What?
You're charismatic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And fortunately or unfortunately, I can't use lenses. Otherwise, I would look little probably younger like this. But this makes me look a little more wise, I believe,
Yes.
Okay, let me tell you that nobody is born. That's what my daughter taught me. I was surprised. My daughter at the age of 14 years has given her IIT entrance examination and she cleared her mains. And she lost her advance just because Chennai University, IIT Chennai's turn was it to make an IIT paper. And they messed up with Hindi language because Chennai is not good at Hindi language. Some 19 to 20 marks added up to North India. And poor girl, because of that whole system, she lost. But in 15, again, at the age of 15 years, next year, she got IIT seat and she's in Chennai now, IIT Chennai. A very youngest girl child in the country to get IIT seat. So once, me and my daughter were generally having a conversation. Her name is Lopa Mudra. And she is my guru because she taught so many things to me in life. One day, she was saying that, like I am a speaker at Ramakrishna Math at many places. So once she had accompanied me and I was talking great about her as a mother, again, very bad. I talked about her great in front of many of the students. Once the whole session finished, she took left and right. She told me that you cannot tell your children are great. I said, why? You're achievers. She said, no. We are achievers because we had you. Every child, if they have a parent like you, a teacher like you, or a mentor like you, every child is an achiever. So nobody is less intelligent or more intelligent. Nobody is born intelligent. It is the opportunity and the mentors that they get, which makes them successful. Probably if some other child would have been in your womb and you would have mentored so patiently for 20 years, not sending them to schools, teaching day in, day out, they would have become Lopamudra. It's not me. So she said, don't ever again say or publicize us that we were very smart and we're successful. So nobody is born charismatic, but a leader should know how to present themselves charismatically. For example, if the same person today, if I come here not well dressed, you wouldn't feel I'm charismatic. Leaders' most important thing is they should know how to dress very smartly, because the first impression is the best impression. Why do many people, after becoming very strong political leaders, they get those khadi dresses, kaddar dresses, and they try to wear a nice, spick and span, neat dresses? Because the way we look matters. That is the first thing that will let the opponent listen to us. We need not, it is not required that we should be born beautiful or handsome. Very openly, Shah Rukh Khan always tells he's not handsome. But look at the way he dresses up himself. Appealing. A leader always should look appealing. He can't come with chappal. He can't be, out-tuck himself. He can't have some kind of a hairstyle. Mouth odor, not keeping clean. Underarms smelling badly. And tingling your fingers into your nose. I'm very frank on this note. A leader should be very, very neat, clean, and principled. And that makes him look charismatic. She or he. Please don't otherwise mind he comes, because, that's how it's very easy for us to, talk. That's how leader is. So nobody is born. Everybody can be made.
Very, very impressive, ma'am. A leader should be neat, clean, and principled. And if people...
Well-dressed. Simple, well-dressed.
Yeah, if people focus on their dressing sense and dressing to create that appeal, and making sure that you are quite hygienic and you look very clean and appealing. That's part of the personality of a leader. In a sense, that's what you have touched with the example of even Shah Rukh Khan. You don't have to look handsome or beautiful, but you will make yourself look very appealing, and that brand of leadership will have to be
healthy, fit.
One has to be fit. One has to be hygienic, one has to smell good. All these factors are extremely important, because there's no second chance to make that first impression. And once you make that first impression, that should be an everlasting impression. Thank you so much, ma'am. May I request Mohammed ji, Mr. Mohammed, please ask your question. Can you unmute your mic? We will wait for you.
Mohammed ji, aapko unmute karna padega aapka phone.
That's okay. I think while he's trying to get that work, we will take the next question. Ma'am, there are questions and questions and questions. The questions are centering around healthcare, questions are centering around your hospital, sometimes about IT, about artificial intelligence, and sometimes a conjunction of questions on technology and healthcare together. We have actually pushed all those questions down, and I was thinking that some of them who would like to ask questions and speak to you is a great opportunity. So I was kind of waiting for them, but I will just slip into one of those questions and probably wait for Mr. Mohammed to come back. Yes, the question that I wanted to ask you, ma'am, which was posted in by one of the participants, is what emphasis is made for to bring about total involvement by leaders, in the sense, how do, probably it has to be rephrased, how do leaders ensure that there is a total involvement in work or in activity or in the game that you play? So how as a leader, you can ensure that for your team?
Can you just repeat the sentence again, please? There's been some disturbance.
Yes. How as a leader can you ensure higher involvement for your team members in the chosen task?
What is very important, I would say here is, we all used to have in our school days lunch. After the lunch, there used to be social class. And all of us used to feel sleepy. Am I true?
Absolutely.
And so what the schools used to do, that they used to have mathematics class in the morning, so that kids are very active and they pick up maths. Then they have take physics. Then they grade down that as the day goes off, the subjects which need less energy are posted. And in the last, they have after lunch, they have one class. After that class, they immediately post a physical activity. And then they give one more class for either chemistry teacher or physics teacher. And we forget all the small little experiences of life. And we look forward for big tips in life. So the day also accordingly happens in the office. The prime things that are very, very important in a project has to be handled in the first part of the day. And when you feel that there is a slowdown, you need to monitor the time of the day and the performance of the team. So you need to monitor that for 4 or 5 days. Morning first hour for 2 hours, what is their energy levels? What is the output? Next 2 levels, energy output. Next 2 levels, energy output. Accordingly, we need to plan prioritize the important things about the project with the project team. Like you have the physical activity in a school, how are we different from the school students? Our life is also again a school. We go, take a carrier, morning go to the office, come back in the evening or night. Our life is also school's life. But we need to think little mature on a next level. So there has to be an activity compulsory session where you think the quality of the work is dropping down. Either they should have a quick half an hour of, instead of just sitting chit-chatting in those canteens, you please ensure that they play caroms, they play some chess, they play TT, they play some indoor game, because the moment you give an outdoor game, then they sweat, then they don't feel like working. So give them some indoor game. There can be some kind of a quiz. There can be some painting session. There can be 110 things that you can make them awake and alert. So that again, the production increases. That 30 minutes, if you look at trying to, save in a day and thinking that no, 30 minutes is very important, all of us would not understand that next 5 to 6 hours of the time gets screwed up and productivity goes down. As simple as that. So you need to first monitor the day productivity after every 2 hours. Accordingly, you know the culture of your organization to take a alternative. And
Brilliant.
Also please check on the health conditions of your employees. If somebody is sick for some reason, there could be back pain, there could be posture problems. Your chairs would have been very old. There would be some 110 reasons. So please ensure that you have a social psychologist attending at least once in 6 months. All the employees should have once go talk. Make it mandatory. Not psychiatrist, psychologist. Unless they don't have that is part of your appraisal. There should be one deployed there, psychologist. If there is no one attendance, at least going to them and talking, don't give them appraisal. Put it as a part of appraisal. Then you will actually know their problems. You will know why they're not performing. You do not do this, you cannot help them. Because imagine life has become a shell. Office, home, office, home, office, home. Mind will not form. It is like one more fellow in a cage. You put even lion in a cage, it will be lion in a cage. It will not become a lion in a forest. So we are all lions in cages. So then at least make it more organized rather, so that it is on our own health benefit.
Amazing. I think operational excellence is dependent on very humane HR people working on it religiously, treating each person as one very important individual and not just a number. I think once the culture of the organization is institutionalized towards caring for them and working for them, the results will not go up, the productivity will not go up. I think that's an amazing point that you have made. You also mentioned that they should open up and talk and link it to the appraisal. Very, very practical. It's doable. And a lot of organizations they tend to actually overlook these things. And for a large part of the life of the organization, they won't
They
even
have
know.
counselors. I'm
Yes.
not talking about that. I'm telling they should deploy a psychologist.
Yes.
And once in 6 months, attending to it should be part of appraisal.
Very good.
That is important.
Social psychologists, correct.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And we have not yet heard from Mr. Muhammad. In the meantime, I'll request Professor Prasad if he has any question to ask, and then we'll wrap it up, if that's okay. We are already at 8:17. We have crossed the time that we have borrowed from ma'am.
No, I'm okay. It's very
Thank you.
interesting.
Ma'am, there are 3 questions. I think 2 of them you already covered with the basic principles that you've been mentioning in different forms. There's one question, perhaps something more can be added on. As you started off, the generation before us and the generation after us, they are different. So there's a paradigm shift, and a lot of it is driven by technology, values, etc., primarily by technology. So how does that affect? How do we tackle that kind of a challenge? I mean, in addition to what you've said, is there something more that you'd like to tell?
Can you just repeat the last 2 sentences, Prasadji?
Yeah. So when you're dealing with the new generation, what else do we need to do? You have mentioned a number of principles in the discussion till now. Do we need to do anything else? Because this is it looks like a new thing. Things are changing very fast, far more faster than it was earlier. And the world looks different. We're not able to understand to the extent that we want to understand the generation which follows.
So basically, how do we handle the new generation?
Yes.
Okay. What is very important is that there are certain things that we need to accept about the new generation, because we also belong to a kind of a restricted thought process. Rather more than restricted thought process, I would say that we are also probably little reluctant in changing who we are. So it comes from there first, because now for the younger generation, we are the leaders. So we need to first learn few things that we need to change. Now, what is the change required? How do we change? Where all do we change? Straight, simple. Do not change where it is easy and comfortable for you. For instance, I'll give you a very small example. Mothers and fathers hand over mobile phones to children when they are very young, thinking that it's a great technology they should learn. Because they get some free time for themselves, while to see their movies, their TV serials, or their office work, or whatever it is to ease out their personal requirement. At a very young age, they give mobile phones to kids. But same kid at the age of 14 or 15, he gets into different sites of the mobile phone, or he is latching to it for a longer time. We scold them. What are we then doing? Anything that we hold on to the technology for our comfort, then we are not actually learning how to use the technology. Technology has to be used in a very, very restricted, rather I would say that in a very understood and a very matured environment. If you can see, many of the foreign Western CEOs, they kept giving those kind of an article. They said, we don't give mobile phones to our children. In fact, they would have been from a lot of those IT companies, huge, big companies, and they throw all those onto us. And they say, we don't give mobile phones to gadgets to our children. We are trying to bring them away from the all urban influences. Why? It is because naturally in this nature, nothing blossoms before a time. Whether it is a technology, even what is technology is doing, it is easing out our efforts to learn knowledge. What is technology all said and done? For instance, today, what is the technology? That we are able to all sit at different places, talk to each other, exchange, understand. Now, same laptops on which we are today, we can do 10,000 other things which are not even right. So it is like a nuclear bomb. They've also made Nobel Prizes out of it after doing whatever they have done, declared. But even till today, the bomb is working, whatever it has to work, Ukraine war, whatever it is. So at our place, we need to have the wisdom to first learn how the technology should be handed over to a generation right from a parental level. Now, the second level is what is the extent of freedom? We need to learn to define freedom. Many parents today do not even know what children do outside. Why I'm coming from parents' perspective is from here only leaders grow. Leaders don't happen all said and done in the organizations. from child to student to teenager to an professional graduate to an office. That's where you make leaders. You need to know that what are their influences that are happening from the society. So the biggest point to understand them is let them talk to you. They need to open up because they learn so many things from outside. Even your students or even your team of the project, young, you take young students who do not have any experience. You just take a lot of youngsters into the IT companies and all. You need to let them talk. You need to let them talk. They have to talk. They have to talk. They have to talk. Why? One small example. I'll talk 2 more hours. I'll talk 3 more hours. But after that, I'm done. I'm dead. I can't talk anymore because at this point of time, I may not have any more else to talk. That's truth. I have to again refill myself to talk, or I need new people to talk all this to them again. But what do is we don't listen to them, and they are very aggressive. They are very talkative because their pace of learning things, observing things, grasping things is at a next level. And they don't know how to calm down themselves because they have 100 things stored up in their mind because of the technology that is giving them easy way out. We need to have phenomenal brainstorming sessions with these youngsters. Because I see in many IT companies, the kind of a work they give to these youngsters, they get bored after a period of time. They say the same routine work, donkey's job, morning, afternoon, night, morning, afternoon, night, morning, afternoon. They do it because they need to get salaries. They do it because they need to get married. They do it because they need social status. But where is intellectual production in all these things? While if the day has at least 70% of donkey's routine, 30% have to be a brainstorming session with these individuals. That is where you will make new. It is like, donating blood once in 6 months. Unless you don't donate your old blood, from where will your bone marrows in any case produce? But is it not at the same place everything? Unless you don't give out your old blood once in 6 months, the bone marrows that are producing don't enjoy good fresh blood into the body. So let them talk, brainstorm, sit. Don't have to decide anything. But when at our age we sit and listen to their brainstorming, talking to them on those kind of group discussions, we never know what is the next level that our whole organization will travel to. But what are we doing? They're making them robots. Now, where will they become great leaders? They'll become sick employees. I don't know if I could reach out to your question.
You have. What you're trying to say is that the new generation has a lot of input because of the way they've grown up, the kind of stimulus that they've seen, the kind of influence they've gone through. And that in their day-to-day life, whether it is at work or whether it is at school, there is a need to give them the time and space to reflect, to talk, create. And then there must be people, there are people, experienced people who are sitting there out to listen. Then you can bring out a lot of innovation from that also. And so it becomes a win-win situation as much to what they are doing.
Yeah, because we are not letting them open up and not letting their energies flow out. They are subsiding it by getting into aggressive technology. They're taking the help of aggressive technology to calm down their aggressiveness. That's the reason they are leading into different wrong methods. If you let out themselves, their ideas, their thoughts, their brainstorming, they don't require anything else to hang on to any kind of these things that are happening on Twitter. They are least bothered and interested because there is nobody to listen to them.
So in a manner of speaking, it is like that activity that you mentioned in the class. I mean, somewhere in the middle of the day, something needs to be there, but here the purpose is different. There the purpose is different.
Exactly. Yeah, in the office, that could be a brainstorming session.
Yeah.
One day brainstorming, one day maybe an intellectual activity.
I think this is an extremely important input because we keep listening, reading a lot about the next generation. And you can see that, in the writing that, something is wrong. Well, actually, it may be something that we need to do in the way we handle them. And I think this is an extremely critical point with respect to how we are able to help them evolve.
We should not cut them down. Let them talk. Yeah. Let them speak. Excellent. It's like you put a small baby in that in a space of balls and you leave a baby in that. And this kind of a malls they have. And the baby plays. Imagine they calm down. So youngsters have to be allowed to talk, express their new, thoughts, their adventures, their endeavors, their experiences, how the next level they're able to look at it. The way they're able to vision, they're visionary for at their age. Everything matters to us because we want to build a new age technology, right?
Fantastic. So while that also is a kind of,
Therapy
for them, I think it's also very important for the organization as well as important for us.
For us, it is beneficial. For them, it's therapy.
Excellent, man. Back to Professor Rao.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I would look at this whole session, the last 120 minutes that we engaged, discussed so many aspects. It looks like there is a very nice framework. It is a well-curated, dejargonized framework, and that is help people open up, create some vents for them. And as a result, they will calm down. And as a result of calming down, they are in touch with themselves. They are not comparing themselves with others, but they would like to do on their own much, much better. Productivity goes up, satisfaction levels go up, work ethic improves, and then we have created a beautiful society called workplace or school place or a playground or anywhere else, including home. I think this is the framework that has evolved without using any jargon I mentioned like that. But it is so calming, in fact, the whole session. And why I'm saying it is calming, because there are takeaways which are coming straight. There are takeaways which are not convoluted. There are no takeaways which are having ifs and buts. There are questions, but there are no ifs and buts. So it is actually going unabated. And therefore, this session has been very, very calming on us with this framework in place. So let me attempt to take about 1.5 to 2 minutes and summarize for the benefit of all the participants who are around the screen. Leadership actually begins at home. The first sprouts of leadership have taken shape on home ground, pun intended. The way a father or mother has behaved, elder brother or elder sister would have behaved, that has sown the seeds of leadership, and that's what is carried forward. And the way we would behave with our own friends outside home, either at school or in terms of college or in terms of playground. Then the immediate neighborhood in terms of our school, which had a greater influence on our building up, on our shaping up, has also had these kind of opportunities of an exposure to a very good leader or not so very good leader, depending on the teachers, how they dealt with us. Did they teach us 60 kids in one classroom kind of a opportunity for them as a kind of standardization, or did they look at the individual abilities? Did they group us? Did they create energy? Did they create more productivity? This all was available for us to evaluate. But leadership begins at home. Leadership has taken shape in these small societies that we have around us, which has helped us what we have become today. Amazing. At least there is a takeaway for us from this opening remarks that we can at least correct these things not happening to our children, where there is an immediate influence, not happening to our students who are studying with us, our team members who are working with us. We can arrest or avoid a few things straight away. So that's a very, very important aspect. The philosophical dharma, the do's and what are the expectations of the leader are always there. But the session has helped us delve into some of these practical sides of how a leader has to behave oneself, herself or himself in terms of doing certain things and avoiding certain things was also very, very important. It might look very simple. There are a lot of people who say, and there's a conflict here. That is, when you say that the leader is actually not very visible, not very aggressive, leader doesn't have to be in your face. That is one side, which is very good. But on the other hand, if the leader is not making a particular impression by taking small things like dressing properly, speaking consistently, standing up for one's own identity, it could be by dress, it could be by address, it could be by the point of view, it could be by a consistent behavior. Everyone will have to communicate a pattern. A pattern is the identity of a leader. So this should not be in conflict. The pattern vis-a-vis the behavior or the unbecoming of a leader I think these two should not be in conflict. That's a beautiful point that has come out. A lot of time has been spent on explaining this in your talk, ma'am. Thank you so much. The reward and recognition is something which has so much of potential to elevate people and make them successful, and not so much about putting your knife on the throat of somebody and demanding results. I think that's a very, very practical kind of thing. The third one is leaders can fail. They are not infallible. Everybody can fail. Lower the expectations for the team on yourself, then it works very well. Everybody is at a realistic level. Leader is not just by a designation, but leader is a leader because one is accepted as a leader by the team. So how do we improve our acceptability by the team? By doing all these measures, practical steps, genuinely caring. You can't fake leadership. Either today or tomorrow or day after, one will be caught. I think a genuine communication, genuine behavior, genuine knowledge about people and concern for people is very, very important. An extended point is it will have a longer impact if the people are connected to their families and if the work is connected to their families. If ever there was a best dressed executive award going to one employee, I think the credit should go to the spouse. Similarly, if there is a most productive salesman in our office, I think credit goes to the family for making him the most productive in office, letting him be what he's good at. With the distraction back home, we can see these things happening to all of us, as the example that you have given on the lift thing. And again, it's a philosophical thing. Leaders will have to do the lift karate. They have to lift everyone without having any distraction. But the home plays a very, very important role. The family plays a key role in making sure that your productivity goes up and you are very interesting. Most of the times, the employees, team members are torn between the office and the home because the employee loves the office. That's the first love, the first home. Very true. And he or she won't be able to justify that all the time without those tangible results of increased salary, increased promotions, positions, perks, so on and so forth. Yet the employee loves the organization, but then the spouse asks the employee, what is happening to you at the end of second year, third year, fourth year? Look how people around the society are growing, they are promoted. So an employee is always torn between the organizational reality and the reality at home and the expectation at home. I think if it is connected properly, I'm sure there will be less discord and more ownership as it goes up, as we go forward. Lessons for us that you have mentioned is that if we figure out answers from failures that will help our team members reflect, all of us will be able to reflect that attitude to reflect is very important. And the 4 quadrants message that you have given is very, very interesting. How do we put up with a known devil vis-a-vis unknown gods? I think that's the message that has come out. In our daily lives, wherever we are working, in our daily lives, wherever we are not working, I think all these principles are applicable, especially the fact when you mentioned that leaders do not carry forward emotions. Because every situation is very different. And what has happened, say, an hour back at home, you can't carry forward and impact the activity that is in your office, or whatever happened in the office, you can't take it forward and spoil the home atmosphere for your child. So beautiful, so realistic. One couldn't have given a better example than that. And how do we balance that empathy versus taskmastership? We are chasing results is on one axis, and then we have to be empathetic to our employees and the surroundings and the concern, and to the office also. There's an empathy for business. There's empathy for your customers as well. So how do we balance these two is a very, very important aspect. Learning, upgrading, skilling, learning about people, all these things are a regular feature. And the day one is tired of learning, that is the day one is asked to retire. Probably that's the real meaning of retiring. The other important factor that you mentioned is that a leader is not an individual, but a leader is a team, which is again fitting into the box called I am because we are. Very beautifully, it sits into that kind of a concept of we are shaped by the team. I am so because of my team. I think that's a very, very beautifully communicated aspect. Your own examples of how do you behave yourself as a leader on the floor, in the sense in your hospital, in your office environment, those examples have been pretty stark. And you maintain your identity. You don't try to impress anyone. You carry on with your conviction and you care for your people, and then it gives good results. That's amazing. I think steeped in empathy, at the same time, very realistic in taskmastership as well. I think that one more framework has come to life with the discussion that you have provided today. Cutting this into very simple things, daily useful aspect is be fit. Physically fit is equal to being mentally fit, is equal to being very happy and long life. As simple as that. I think leaders who can worry about physical fitness, they themselves will live longer. They themselves will have greater energy to contribute, and that energy is actually infectious. So the concern that everyone has to be healthy is a very fair one. And those people who are around the screen, I'm sure they would thought to themselves that, yes, I am not fit. This point is something which I am not working on. Yes. Physical fitness is a very important aspect that we need to ostensibly communicate. We should not talk about in small corners or remote places where others cannot hear. It should be worn on our sleeves, so that physical fitness becomes an attitude. Physical fitness becomes a social norm. Physical fitness becomes an office norm as well. Because office consists of people, people have to be healthy, and we have to be concerned of those people. It has to become an office norm. I 100%, 200% agree with you, ma'am. And your suggestion on increasing performance in a classroom to an office environment through small groups and teams and helping them succeed is a brilliant one and a practical one. And we should be proud of such measures that are being instituted. The openness to welcome change, the ability to navigate the change with the new generation is something which we all have to learn. I think everything is not perfect. Neither a father, nor a mother, nor a teacher, nor a leader in the office or the boss. Nobody is perfect. But I think these issues will have to be navigated, learned at a subsequent stage as well. And one more practical example that you've given is play, work, live. Application of social psychologists in the work and having sessions where you can actually play or be active is very important. And learning to change with the changing times and creating new age leadership is an amazing way to actually end this session. The new age leadership is actually the punchline for ICFAI Business School. We think we are positioning ourselves, and we think that we are actually producing new age leaders. And that's what is our dictum, and that's what is our effort to. We make our campuses actually speak up. We make our campuses run by the students. They are categorized, they are divided into various clubs, as many as 33 clubs in Hyderabad. And each one of them have their own agenda. They have their own small groups, their identities, they have their own competition, other than what is happening in the classroom. A large part of life is lived on the campus, outside the classroom, in that beautiful campus which you visited, ma'am. And these students, they get into small groups. They treat themselves as salaries of contemporary genius sometimes, but they are the new age leaders for us who look at them from a distance. And that objective will continue. The lessons learned from this session, we will apply, we will keep applying both in our work and our life. And we would like to thank you so much for your infectious energy, involvement.
There is one more last thing that actually I would want. There's one more last thing that actually I would want to tell is, what happens in an organization or in the school or anywhere, we come morning with very high energies. We spend the entire day. We need to disconnect that when you're going home back. Further, the best thing is dignity of labor. Why I'm saying dignity of labor as an activity is, you can water the plants in your organization, because you need to disconnect your mind. You can, if it is a huge campus, you can actually give some grains to the birds. They're very small activities, but they make a lot of difference. They disconnect your mind's routine. You calm down before you're going home. Very small things, but then they make a lot of difference. You can adopt a plant in your office. And then you'll start, becoming very friend. While you're going home, it's like you're talking to your plant, you're watering it, you've removed whatever it is around that, but 5-10 minutes, then say hello, bye-bye, because it doesn't reciprocate back to you. It doesn't hurt you back, but you can talk to it, or you plant your own flowering plant, plant your own, fruit plant. That actually adds as an ecology, sorry, the ecosystem and the environment also improves because of that. And you talk to your plant and go home back, it makes you feel very nice, very happy.
Amazing.
At the
amazing.
same time, you plant one more plant at your home. It could be a small dhania patta also, doesn't really matter. But you talk to a plant in the organization, you talk to a plant at home, it calms you down. It disconnects from the office work. Because we also have to figure out new ways how to disconnect ourselves from these routine lives. Plantation is the beautiful thing that can happen.
Amazing.
Don't do crotons. Don't do crotons. You'll only land up looking at the thorns. It has to be a flowering plant or a fruit plant, because that keeps you, way to look forward for it like a baby.
Great, ma'am. Thank you very much. Own a plant, own a bird. I think these are very, very practical kind of suggestions for a campus like ours and for offices like many. One of the members has just mentioned that I hope these are practiced in organizations. But I think the question and the exclamation should be, I will practice it in my own home and my own office. I think it should start with ownership. I would give that suggestion to the friend who made that exclamation. Thank you very much, ma'am, for this insightful, useful, and energetic session of more than 125 minutes that we have had till now. More than 135 minutes till now. Thank you so much, ma'am. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank ma'am on your behalf, and also would like to make a small announcement that the 107th session of this WiseViews leadership conversation will be with Mr. Suhim Sheikh on next Friday at 6:30 p.m. We are going to talk about producing international sports stars from Indian grassroots. We will also understand few leadership lessons from developing sports leaders and how is that done. Mr. Suhim Sheikh, who is the founder president of Hyderabad Yachting Club, he's going to talk to us. So tune in at 6:30 p.m. on Friday, June 2nd. Till then, keep reading more about Mrs. Madhavi Latha and reflect more on the aspects that she has mentioned in terms of leadership. And after reflecting, please implement. Knowing, being, and doing, and then talking about it is the last one. I wish you a wonderful Friday evening and a great weekend ahead, and see you next week on Friday at 6:30 p.m. Till then, thank you all and good night.